Hello, my name is Dana Clear, and I want to discuss for a couple minutes just why music education and music is so important to the students that I teach. So, I teach at Fallsburg Junior Senior High School. Fallsburg is a very small town in New York in Sullivan County. It's in the Catskill Mountains, and the population of my school is very different than any other school that I have ever taught at. Um, the students that I teach, unfortunately, most of them are incredibly impoverished. My school district was ranked number 4 on the list of the most impoverished school districts in New York State. Many of my children are immigrants who came to this country to get away from gang violence in their home countries, who came here with absolutely nothing. Some of them came here without their parents. They were sent here by their parents to live with a relative or a friend of the family. And people ask me quite frequently, actually, especially people from where I grew up in upstate New York, why do you want to stay here? Why do you want to teach these children? Most of them don't speak English. What's pulling you to stay here? And my students are pulling me to stay here because I love my students more than most things in my life. And my students are so dedicated and so hardworking. Once they find something, they want to absorb every bit of information about it. I have students who are using school instruments. Very few of them have their own instruments. Using school instruments, practicing every day, and without private lessons, without any other support outside of school, are pulling off level 6 NYSSMA solos and making it into some of the top music schools in New York State. It's incredible watching them work, and it makes me strive to be the best educator that I could possibly be for them. One of the things that I would like to do to help my students grow even more, because they need to grow emotionally, they need to grow intellectually. One thing that I would really love to do is start doing something called informances in my classroom. So having students prepare something, if it's something out of a method book that they're working on, if it's their NYSSMA solo, if it's a song that they've started learning on ukulele at home. I want these students to show their peers and show me and show maybe even other faculty members in the building what they're capable of and what they work so hard on. I want them to build relationships with each other so that they're not afraid to go in front of their peers and be vulnerable and play something that they maybe aren't 100% confident on. I think it will help my students grow. There's a comic company called Tone Deaf Comics that makes comics specifically for band and posters for band. And one of them says band is a family. And that's the goal of my ensemble. I want these students to learn everything they possibly can about music in their 7 years with me, but mostly I want them to grow as a human, and I want them to experience these relationships with each other. One of the national standards is or one of New York State standards as well, is to incorporate creating music in the classroom, which is something that I think a lot of other music educators don't do enough of. I want to start incorporating technology more. I want to get more technology into my classroom because there's not a lot. I have a smart board, I have a computer for myself, and sometimes I can rent out or sign out a Chromebook cart for certain projects, but they're limited, especially with all of the computer-based testing that's happening. I want to involve this technology so they can do things like create their own blues song or take something that they've heard and somehow remix it and revamp it and make something different, because these students their horizons need to be expanded. They need to learn about different types of music, which they do, but they need to, in order to do that, they really need to take it and incorporate it into their being and make it something to go along with something that they love as well. And I think that this is a point where parent involvement can really work as well. I have a Google Classroom for all of my classes that parents can sign on to as well. Unfortunately, many of them don't have the technological capabilities at home to do so. But something that I also really want to incorporate is students or parents sharing their favorite music with their students, because my 7th grade general music students, one of their units is to go through kind of a brief history of popular music, starting with blues and going through rock and roll and how rock and roll evolved and how that evolved into all of these other genres of music. And I just want students to acknowledge that there's other music out there than what they're listening to, because music is so integral to teenagers' identities. I want them to see and hopefully to become aware of what their parents listen to and understand why their parents like that music, because that will then build that relationship with their parents even further. But they'll see that the music that they listen to is also a part of their identity and was a huge part of their past. And that's building relationships is the key to learning. If we don't build relationships, we're not going to learn from somebody. Finally, these students have such chaos in their lives at home, sometimes at school, and music is a release for many of them. It gives them, listening to music calms them. They always have their earbuds in. They are always humming along, listening to something. And it helps decrease their anxiety. It gives them a safe space in what is not necessarily a safe or welcoming world to them. So I hope that this opens your eyes a bit and helps you see exactly what students can go through and helps you to create better relationships with those around you and start listening to some music that you don't normally listen to, and have an appreciation for all of the kids that work so hard to better themselves in a pretty chaotic and messy world. Thank you so much.